Marcia, tell me why it is that you came in to see us.
Well, some people have said some things to me about my voice that, well, I guess the main thing was that sometimes I would talk and they'd think that I was putting on, that wasn't really the way I talked.
How would you describe your voice?
Soft.
Do you recall when someone first mentioned to you anything about your voice?
Yeah. When I was in speech in high school, I used to get up on stage and the teacher of the class would say, yeah, you're gonna have to project, because we can't hear you. I guess that was the first time.
To your knowledge, have you ever used a voice that's different than this one?
Well, sometimes when I am on, having to speak to a lot of people or on a stage or something, I'll really try to get louder, and maybe it'll change that way. And sometimes, like when I'm laughing or when I'm really not aware of talking at all, I'll realize that my voice sounds a little bit different than it usually does, but it doesn't always last very long.
How much different, and in what way is it when you laugh?
It's almost like it's too loud. Yeah.
Do other people tell you it's too loud at that time?
No, they don't really say anything about it.
George, would you talk a little bit about your voice and how you would describe it now and how other people describe it?
Well, I can only describe it the way I would describe it. I don't know how other people do. And I describe it as husky and high-pitched.
What kinds of comments do other people make to you about voice? How would they indicate that they consider it unusual?
They usually don't. But that may be because I happen to be in an authoritative position with them. And people who meet on a friendly basis don't notice such things.
Mm-hmm. And your voice, as best you recall, has been this way since you've ever known it, huh?
That's correct.
Have you ever done anything to try and change your voice?
No.
Any interest in trying to change it?
No.
No. How do you judge your voice? Do you consider it deviant?
No, I don't.
What
That's
do you do?
idiosyncratic.
Okay. Novel.
It's my voice.
Sure.
It's mine.
Has it been useful to you?
Yeah.
How so?
I made money singing.
When was this?
1940, 39.
Okay. And it was, you were well paid because it was an
No,
interesting
not well
singing?
paid. I made money singing.
Interesting. Huh? It was good money.
That's right. I stayed in college.
Okay, and that was how you supported yourself through school?
Partly.
Okay. What is your area now?
Philosophy of education.
Okay. And what is it you're teaching?
Philosophy of education.
Is that a course?
That's it. No, it's not a course, but it's an area.
The whole section?
Yeah, I specialize in epistemology, or theory of knowledge.
And when did you get turned on to that?
Good question. I guess when I wrote my dissertation, because I did the epistemology of Charles Peirce and so-called implications for education.
Could you talk a little bit about that now?
Yeah, it was a mistake.
Want to go back and rewrite it now?
No, I don't. I want to burn it. You don't draw out implications from general principles. And that's a mistake that I made and everybody else did.
What are some of your interests in education right at this moment?
Well, I mean, in general?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think the loss of autonomy is a big interest of teachers and of faculty. The loss of significance of education, the reduction of its meaningfulness as a quality a person might have.
Consider this a negative change?
Yes, I do. I think we're moving into a kind of dark age,
mm-hmm.
and I hate to see it coming.
Any positive factors that might forestall that?
Yeah, teachers asserting themselves. That's one.
For the next minute or so, suppose you read a few sentences from this paper.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Sure, go ahead.
Lady Luck is a fickle name. You can get off the finest drive you ever made in your life, and it's end up deep in the woods, but such is life and it's a game called golf.
Very good. Fine. Now, for the next couple of minutes, I'd like you to kind of pretend you were trying to find out some things about me. In other words, you're going to have to ask me questions about me. All right?
Are you married?
Yes.
Do you have any kids?
Yes.
How many?
2.
Boys or girls?
2 boys.
And how old are they?
One boy's a year old and one's 5 and a half.
Have you ever had a rifle of your own?
Yes.
What kind?
Oh, a 22 and a 30-30.
Do you still have them?
No.
Do you have any kind of gun?
No.
Do you have a motorcycle?
No, mine no.
Do you have a car?
Yes.
Marianne, why don't you tell me a little bit of the history of the management that you've experienced with your cleft when the first surgeries took place and what you've gone through since then?
Well, let's see. As I understand it, my mother told me that first of all, there was some surgery that was done right after my birth. Then I remember her telling me that I had another operation. It was approximately, maybe about a year and a half old, and then I had another operation for my cleft palate when I was about 8.5 years old, and prior to that operation, I had had some speech therapy, which to my mind didn't really do a darn thing. And
this was before you were 8, huh?
yeah, I had speech therapy from when I was in the first and second grades, and then along about when I was a senior in high school, my mother managed to talk me into more therapy, and in the course of that, we had heard about the pharyngeal flap, which I had, and that was 12 years ago in the summer. And
Flap was done 12 years ago?
yeah, that was the first one. And however, when I got into college, right afterward, I really wasn't very well motivated for speech therapy, and we really never got anywhere. And I think that pretty well would have been it, except for the fact that when my mother had to go to the hospital, she had spoken to the doctor to find out if any advances had been made in pharyngeal flap surgery, and of course there had been. So I wound up having another operation in 1969. And since then I have had therapy, and this therapy has done something for me.
It was shortly after 5, and the office employees of Florida Plastic Products were either scurrying toward the elevators or were hurriedly straightening their desks before joining the homeward rush. Not so in Catherine Blair's small office. Mr. Amos Hawley, vice president, opened the door and poked his graying head in. He was 63 and grateful for having Catherine Blair, mature, married, and a beaver for work, and his private secretary.
Sunflower seeds is their favorite.
You were telling me something about that outfit that you have on. Would you tell me about that again?
Yeah, well, I started about 2 weeks ago, and it was on a Tuesday, I think it was, and I went downtown looking around, and I just had 50 cents, because I thought that I would need it probably for something that I wanted, and so I saw this, and while I was down there, I decided that I wanted it, and that I was going to get it. So when I did come home, I started saving up my money and saving until Saturday.
Debbie, would you like to read this page for us, please? Starting up here.
The princess was then led to a carriage lined with velvet and covered with gold. Following behind them in a carriage,
just as fine came the Prince of Denmark himself. He was very dressed in his royal clothes, and he looked very handsome. The way led past the bare little hut where the princess and Greylegs lived. As a carriage drew near it, the princess saw that the house was on fire. "Oh, stop, stop," she screamed. She tried to jump out, but her legs caught in the long train of the ground.